Hello, this is Bill Cherkasky from Dark in the Park, and on August 12th, 2024, I took a final visit to GILLIAN'S Wonderland Pier in Ocean City, New Jersey, because the owner, Jay Gillian, made the announcement on August 9th that the amusement pier there will be closing at the end of this season after 94 years of being in business. Not though at this exact location, but the Gillians have had amusement facilities on the Ocean City Boardwalk for 94 years. Jay Gillian himself was involved in the amusement business for 47 years, but in his statement that he released, which sort of took everybody by surprise, he said that it's no longer a viable business, and he's also closing the 6th Street Pizza, which is on the corner there that I just walked by. Now, my family were always Wildwood people, but whenever we would visit Ocean City, we would always check out this pier. I always liked aspects of it, just these spinning signs on the outside that say Wonderland. That would remind me of Hunt's Pier in Wildwood and Nichols Midway Pier. They had signs like that that would spin. So there was certain elements of this amusement pier that just sort of took me back to the old days of Wildwood. So I did like it for that reason. Now, I am shooting this video with an Insta360 X3 camera, so you get a full view. If you have VR glasses, you can look around and see everything with me. Now, not all the rides were working, like this ride in front of me. Some of them they were already taking apart. I don't know if they sold them, like the Music Express wasn't working, and the big Frisbee ride that's way out there, made by Huss, that wasn't working. But a lot of the classics were working, and I went on some of the rides, which you'll see in this video. Now, right now, I'm walking over to this little animatronic display here, which there's 2 of these in this inside section of Wonderland. This one is a smaller one, and it doesn't have a whole lot of movement. Both of them, you put $1 in, and it goes through a song. So I'm putting this $1 in, and it's playing When the Saints Come Marching In. I'm not sure how old these guys are, or where they came from, who made them. They're probably from the 70s. They look pretty old. Maybe Wayne Seddon, who works for the pier, put this display together. But it's pretty neat. Now, a little history about Gillian's. The business was started in 1929 by David Gillian, who decided to open a fun deck at Plymouth Place in the boardwalk, which is now the location of a water park. The main attractions of the fun deck were a Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round, and not the merry-go-round that's at Wonderland now, or the Ferris wheel that's at Wonderland. They were different ones. Now, David's sons, Roy and Robert, took over the fun deck in the 1950s, and Roy branched off to open Gillian's Wonderland Pier in 1965. So this pier that I'm in now that's closing was opened in 1965. A third generation of Gillians, Jay, Jim, and Steve, took control of the fun deck property in 1988 and opened the water park there. Jay ultimately took ownership of Wonderland Pier, and Jim took ownership of the water park. Steve retired and moved to Florida. Now, in March of 2014, Jim decided to sell the water park to an investment group because he was in poor health, and he passed away in April of 2014. Now I'm in the outside part. This is just called the Super Fun Slide. This is an attraction you would typically see at carnivals, traveling carnivals. My kids always like these fun slides. I didn't bother going on that. And then over next to it, you have the swing ride. But I decided to go down here to the haunted house first, the haunted dark ride. And I went over here, this ticket booth, and got tickets here. Now, I didn't really see anywhere to get souvenirs. I was looking maybe for a penny crush machine or something like that. So really my only souvenir is this ticket card that I got, which is a decent souvenir. It says Gillian's on it. Now this dark ride, it's the cart system is made by the Sally Corporation. It actually was one of their old Den of Lost Thieves rides. But the inside of it, all the stunts, they were designed by Wayne Seddon. He came up with this concept. They really seem to be inspired by Bill Tracy. There may even be a couple Bill Tracy stunts in there, but the inspiration seems to be very Bill Tracy-ish. A lot of that day glow paint, black light. The stunts all seem to be working. Because of all the black light, it is very bright in there. My daughter loves that spider bat creature. That big spider up there seems very Bill Tracy-ish. And these vultures seem like they might even be Bill Tracy vultures. And that's it. I think that is made for kids. I mean, I'm sure little kids get scared in there, but I don't think it's intended to be too scary. But it's nice to find an amusement park that has a ride-through haunted attraction. They're pretty rare anymore. So I'll take any one I can find. Over here they have a Moby Dick ride. They have one of these in Wildwood on Maury's Pier. It's your typical portable carnival-style ride. I didn't bother riding that. Somebody's asking me about my camera. I think they thought it was a GoPro. Over here we have the log flume. This is called Canyon Falls Log Flume. Now I'm not sure what will happen to this. I'm assuming most of the small flat rides on the pier will be auctioned off and they'll easily go to other parks or traveling carnivals. But something big like this log flume, you're never quite sure if it's worth another amusement park to come in and actually move it, or they just demolish it. I know the one on Hunts Pier was sold to another park, but this one has a lot of areas underneath here, under this platform, that seem like they're pretty permanently installed there. But who knows? I come back later and ride the log flume before I leave. Now, there were signs of trouble at Wonderland Pier. In fact, Icona Resorts chairman and CEO Eustace Mita entered into a partnership with Gillian in 2021 after Gillian's Pier declared bankruptcy and was at risk of being auctioned off in a sheriff's sale. Jay Gillian just recently terminated his multi-year lease with Mita, and it's uncertain what will become of the property, but it seems unlikely that it will continue in its current form. Icona Resorts has upscale hotels in Avalon, Cape May, and Diamond Beach, and they already proposed a $150 million beachfront hotel in Ocean City last year, so that seems to be their direction. Here's a Tilt-A-Whirl. This is a newer Tilt-A-Whirl that they installed in 2002. Before this point, they had an old one on the pier. But something like this will easily be auctioned off. Now, I'm not sure if Icona Resorts partially owns the rides with Gillian, or Gillian owns the rides after that partnership they formed in 2021. So I don't know if Gillian's going to auction off the rides or they're going to stay there. Not quite sure. They have a little miniature golf course set up here underneath this platform. This platform over on the right has that Huss Frisbee ride, which they're taking apart. And that golf course wasn't open today. They were working on it. Now they have one of these Speedway Whip rides. My kids liked riding this one in Wildwood. They had one on Maury's Pier. It was always popular with them. Gillian's Pier has a lot of kiddie rides. That seems to be the specialty. And these rides would be easy to sell off because they're pretty portable. Now over here is a ride that really reminds me of my days in Wildwood as a little kid. This is called Jumbo. We always knew the one in Wildwood, it was on Casino Pier, as Dumbo the Flying Elephant. But you have a little stick in there that makes it go up and down, and you hear that compressed air hissing as the ride goes up and down. We love that ride in Wildwood. Now this one was manufactured by Zamperla. I'm heading over to the swings. Now this swing replaced an older one back in 2018. Now this ride was manufactured by Barak. Now I just researched this information about the rides online, so if any of this information is incorrect, I apologize. Once again, I'm not an expert on Ocean City. We spend most of our time in Wildwood during the summers. In fact, most of these rides I've never ridden, except of course the dark ride, and I've been on the log flume before. Now this was a neat ride. This is called the Chopper Train, and it's manufactured by SBF Visa Rides. I've never seen a ride like this before. They're pretty unique looking. I'm not sure how old this is, but if we were kids, we would have loved to ride this thing. They had a balloon race ride over there that didn't seem to be working. It's another Zamperla ride. Now over here they have one of these Raiders fun houses. Now you would often see these at carnivals. My kids always loved going through these. They have a lot of neat obstacles inside. And then it ends with that big slide. And then you have the rope bridges. This kid comes off it and he runs right back on. He's loving it like my kid's loving it. His sister decides to go back on it too. And then Grandma comes down the slide. I always remember getting stuck on those slides because if it's humid out, your clothes don't slide easily down them. There's some of the obstacles there. You have to go through those bags, like punching bags. And then over here we have the Wacky Worm roller coaster. Now, an older model of this ride operated from 2005 to 2010, and then that ride was relocated to Gillian's Funland in Sea Isle City from 2011 to 2013, but that pier closed in 2014. Now, this newer model was purchased in 2012. Now, this is the biggest roller coaster that they have at the pier now. In 1999, they had a bigger coaster made by Zamperla called the Wild Wonder, but unfortunately, a woman and her young daughter were killed on that ride, and it was removed shortly thereafter. And this is something similar to what you would see at a traveling carnival. A lot of times at those carnivals you have the dragon coasters, which are a little smaller than this, but they send this through twice. Since it's shorter, you get to go through it twice. Going over to the other side to get a different view of it. Now, next to the Raiders Funhouse is this glass house, which looks like it was manufactured by the park. It was a pretty long line. It took a while to get on this because they only let small groups of people go at a time, and they waited till they got out before they would let the next group in. Now, I was by myself, but they sent these two kids in with me. This also reminds me of Wildwood. There used to be a glass house on Casino Pier in Wildwood that we used to love, but that one was a little fancier than this. It actually spun around like a carousel. But these are the true glass houses. The ones you have nowadays, they have mirrors in them. They're more mirror mazes. These actually have the panes of glass, and there's a recording telling you to keep your hand out. At least they don't make you wear gloves. They're not worried about the glass getting smudged. Now, I remember running into the plates of glass on the one in Wildwood many times because we would go through too fast and you wouldn't think the glass was there and you'd smack into it. I let the kid go in front of me. No roof on this attraction. The one in Wildwood did have a roof on it.
I think we're almost there.
It's not too hard to get through this. There's not that many dead ends, and you realize when it's a dead end pretty quickly. They don't have you go far down a path that is a dead end.
buddy. You made it out. Good job. Where do you want to go?
Mom, after the blackout,
There's a Kite Flyer ride. They also have one of those in Maurice Pier. My kids always like that as well. I decided to go on the giant wheel next. Now this Ferris wheel is 144 feet tall. And I like that they are painted like ladybugs. It has a nice lighting package on it too. It's a landmark when you're coming into the island. You see this from pretty far away. It's not quite as tall as the one on Mariner's Landing in Wildwood, but it's close to that height. Now they've had a giant wheel at Gillian's since 1989, but this one replaced that older one in 2001. The one that this one replaced was slightly shorter than this one. Now, lucky for me, they allow single riders on this. In Wildwood, you can't get on if you're a single rider, because a girl fell out of the one in Wildwood when it was about halfway up, and she was killed, and she was by herself. So they decided from that point on, they weren't going to let single riders go on. These bars go up pretty high, so it would be hard to get out of this. Takes a while to get through one of these rides because you have to wait for other people to load and get off. I think they send you around 3 times, but you spend a lot of time stopped. But you have a great view up here. Luckily, it wasn't too windy that day. I mean, you hear a little wind, but not strong enough to blow my hat off. There's a bunch of water pouring out of one of the gondolas. I don't know if kids were dumping water bottles through it or what. Here's another look at that Kite Flyer. This is also made by Zamperla. Now, I was here pretty early, but as it got later, it did start getting crowded there on the pier. I'm wondering if it was getting crowded because people are coming to ride it one last time before they close it. I don't come to Ocean City that often to know how busy Wonderland gets anymore, but that probably was a big part of the problem. Not enough people come to the pier. Have a little arcade in this inside area. They don't have redemption games in Ocean City, so this is just your standard arcade games. Now I'm going up to the monorail, and this is a super steep ramp that you have to walk up to get there, or you could take the steps, but this ramp certainly isn't ADA compliant. Now here is where the second animatronic show is. This one is called Wacky and the Railroad Ramblers, and once again you put $1 in. Now this plays one of 7 different songs. For me it played Take Me Home Country Roads.
Howdy, folks. Y'all having a good time? Oh, folks are having a good time. Gee, this is a wonderland of place. No, Tony. This is a wonderland of pier.
Wonderland Pier, too.
Right on. And folks, here's a song about another place that you every time in Wonderland.
No, I'm going to talk over this so that I don't get a copyright claim on this song. It also plays Cotton Eye Joe, Rocky Top, Your Cheatin' Heart, and the characters are Rocky the Panda, Bubba the Mountain Lion, Henrietta the Chicken, Hank the Dalmatian, and the man is named Antonio. And it's actually a retrofit of a former Chuck E. Cheese Pizza Time Theater band show. The original animatronics they had at Chuck E. Cheese, and they were just half-size animatronics when they were at Chuck E. Cheese, and when they brought them here, they changed the costumes on them and the masks on them and put lower bodies on them. But it's pretty neat, and they move a lot better than the one that's down in the ground level. So now I'm going on the Frontier Express Monorail. This is one of the classic rides that have been around for a long time at Wonderland. This was installed in 1965. So that was really the first year of the Wonderland Pier. This is one of the original rides in there. Now, luckily, I got a front seat here. Now, the ride was originally nicknamed the Red Raider in honor of the town's high school mascot, and it originally had 4 cars, and it only circled around the indoor area. And in 1986, they added new cars and an expanded layout. And now the cars resemble Thomas the Tank Engine, which I don't know how they get away with copyright. I guess the company doesn't know that they made these trains look like Thomas the Tank Engine. Or maybe they pay a licensing fee, I'm not sure. But this is a neat ride. You get a great view of the inside area, and then it takes you outside. This is the first time I've ever ridden this, but I've always seen it. I always thought it was a neat ride. It's just, I was probably too old by the time I started coming to Ocean City to ride this thing. So it's my first time riding it. There's a mom with her little toddler behind me, if you look around in the back. And he's a little scared. I don't know if it's his first time on there, so she's trying to put him at ease so that he won't cry. He started getting a little worried when the thing went outside. He won't ever really remember going on this. He's a little young, but if he finds this video on YouTube, he'll be able to relive his ride on the Frontier Express Monorail. There's a good view of the carousel. And here we come outside. There's a look at the Music Express on the left, which wasn't running, and that spinning ride on the right there, which also wasn't running. No, I did feel a little emotional as I rode this ride, looking around at the pier, knowing that in a couple months, this may be closed for good, and a lot of this stuff will start disappearing. You can see they're taking apart the Frisbee ride there. Which is a Huss ride. Good look at the dark ride. The owner of the property, Eustace Mita, says he's going to take some time to decide what is going to happen with the property. So I think some people are hoping that it will remain some type of amusement facility, but I don't know, it doesn't seem likely, considering Jay Gillian couldn't really make a profitable business out of it anymore. And he was experienced with it. So I don't think it's something that Icona Resorts wants to take on. I decided to go down the steps instead of the steep ramp. Cranes in Ocean City, you have to have them set that you play until you win. Because Ocean City doesn't allow redemption or like games of chance. Here we have what are called the wet boats, and this is an old ride, an Alan Herschel ride. My kids always loved these type of boats. They would call them the ring-a-ding-ding boats. They had ones like this in Wildwood at Morey's Pier. Then you have some Dune Buggies. This is a Hampton amusement ride. We always loved rides like this when we were kids. Pushing the buttons on them. Pretending like you're driving it with that steering wheel. The more buttons and lights, the better. Then you have this unique frog ride. It's called Frog Jump Around. Looks like fun. I don't know who manufactured this. Now these are the fire engines, and they were built in 1940 by the Pinto brothers. And this ride has actually been owned by the Gillians for the longest period of time. It was originally at the Fun Deck before being moved to Wonderland. Although the oldest ride that they own is this carousel. Now they've only had it since 1972, but this is a 1926 Philadelphia Toboggan Company wooden carousel number 75. It has all wooden horses, but I did read that one of the outside horses is a fiberglass reproduction. I'm not sure which one. I didn't really look to see. I like to ride the jumpers, unless they have a ring machine, which they had a manual ring machine here, but they weren't operating it. So I rode a jumper. Here is their band organ, which it's a decorative facade made similar to a Wurlitzer style 157 band organ, but it's not really a Wurlitzer. And none of the drums or percussion on it were working. I'm not sure if the music was coming from a speaker or that there are bells in there. I don't know too much about that, but it didn't sound real good. In fact, this entire carousel needs a major overhaul. Now, I did think it was kind of neat that it has this hand clutch that the operator operates. Now, they use a electronic bell, but they still have, if you can see it over there, they have the old bell that you could ring, but for whatever reason they have a little push button and then they use the electronic bell. And this ride takes a long time to get up to speed and a long time to slow down. I don't know if that's normal for this ride or there's something not moving as fast as it should. I'm not quite sure of the mechanics behind it. But I was looking at the supports up above and they seem very rusted. Like, I would think if this carousel gets sold to another park and they're going to operate it, they would have to do a complete overhaul on it, probably replace those metal supports, because everything hangs off of the center rod and all those metal supports come down to the ends of the carousel and hold everything up. It suspends it up in the air, and if one of those breaks, it would be pretty catastrophic. But the horses themselves didn't appear to be in too bad a shape. And we were on this for a while, and it wasn't like on a time or anything. I think that the operators just decide whenever they want to stop it. There was like no rhyme or reason to it. I didn't see them looking at a stopwatch or anything. The kid just got up and said, okay, I think they rode enough. I'm gonna turn this thing off. But then once again, it took a long time to slow down and come to a stop. But I always like carousels like this. And, you know, this one is from 1926. That is pretty old, almost 100 years old. And when I ride these things, I just imagine the thousands of people that came before me and rode it. And people that aren't around anymore that rode it. And all the joy it created for so many people. So whenever a park has an antique carousel like this, I always ride it. And there's some real nice ones around. They just restored one in Seaside Heights that's beautiful. Hershey Park has a really nice carousel. Knoebels has one where they run the ring machine. The ring machine here didn't really look like a ring machine. It's like a little wooden trough that it looks like they just manually drop rings through. And I did see they had rings there, but they weren't operating that. A lot of parks don't like to operate the ring machine because people steal the rings. And they don't want people reaching over and then falling off of the horses. Now this carousel was formerly located at Rolling Green Park in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania until 1972 when it was moved to Wonderland Pier. The thing that happens with a lot of these old carousels is they auction off the horses because they are the most valuable part of it. And then they end up with fiberglass reproductions. I hope somebody manages to buy this carousel as a whole and it ends up somewhere else instead of it getting broken up into all individual horses going to different collectors. There's a look at that makeshift ring machine they had there with the basket full of rings. Now I decided to go on the Canyon Falls Log Flume as my last ride. It was a long line. This was the longest line that I waited in for this ride. It was pretty warm, so I guess people wanted to cool off. This isn't a real long ride, but it's pretty nice. It has some nice theming underneath here. Probably created by Wayne Seddon, the same guy responsible for the dark ride. Took off my hat. It said, "Take off your hat." I wasn't sure they were going to let me ride with the camera because I didn't have it on a harness. I was just holding it, but none of the kids said anything. I like this theming. I like they have these little troll type characters. And the fake rocks under here. Like it's a mine. They have bats hanging down up above. Alright, going up. There's only two ride operators. One guy up here at the top, and then one guy below doing the loading. I thought maybe this guy up here would tell me to put the camera down, but no, he wasn't really even paying attention. go. You don't get too wet on that. Just a little spritz, but notice my camera got a lot of water on it, so I'm glad I saved this as the last one because the lens got all spritzed up. Here's on rainy days, this little mini golf course underneath this platform gets busy. It wasn't open today. Another look at the swing ride. I decided not to ride that. I was out of tickets. The Music Express. This was installed in 2000 and it replaced the Himalaya ride that they had. And then you have the crazy submarine over there on my left. And that's my final trip to GILLIAN'S Wonderland Pier. Starting September 14th, it will only be open for weekends, with the last operating day Sunday, October 13th. So if you want to experience this in person, you better get out to Ocean City, New Jersey before then. Well, thank you for watching and be sure to like and subscribe.